Advisory Committee to order on September 15th at 2:03. May I ask for a copy of the agenda? My printer was acting up.
Yep.
It's not that we have that many items on the agenda.
I'll take one too if you have it, just because my printer wasn't acting up, but I always get one and I hated to kill both trees. I'll let you kill yours.
Do we have a quorum present?
We do.
No? How about a roll call? Good afternoon.
Chair McCloy,
Here.
Vice Chair Bergman,
Here.
Ms. Hall,
Here.
Ms. Engel,
Here.
Ms. Major is absent, and Ms. Howard.
Here.
Okay, we'll go to the first item on the agenda. We've actually tabled it for 2 meetings, but we're gonna do it, is the time of the Budget Advisory Committee. I'd like to first throw it open for any discussion, and then we'll go right into the voting. And there's one of 2 options, 9 a.m. in the morning or continue 2 o'clock. So, but I want to throw it open to anybody who wants to say anything. No one? So we'll take it to vote.
I thought that the city had a position on it. That's the only one that mattered, I thought, but maybe not.
I just wanted to bring up, the position was that we put IT resources on videoing the meeting. So when the IT guy came in after the last meeting, I asked him about that, and I said, how many viewers do you have? And he said 2. Interesting. So we're using IT resources to video a non-required meeting of volunteers and using IT time for 2 people out of 25,000 citizens. And I just wonder, are we doing that for all of the committees too? And how many viewers? Has anyone even looked to see if there's a cost benefit there?
I'm just,
I would answer a little more in detail, but in the sake of these times and stuff, I don't think you want to hear my answer to it. So I will just say the resources of ITs are seriously tapped. We try to have all these meetings set up and recorded. And on the hindsight, from our end, it's ridiculous to make an accommodation to a meeting and a board that's been going on a long time for a new member who has the opportunity to go on another board. So we are saying, for instance, for today, the person has to do this meeting at 2 and then sustainability at 6. So if you change it, that person will have to do the meeting at 9 a.m. and then.
Are you talking about the IT person?
Yes.
How many viewers are on the sustainability video?
And is that a difference for what reason?
Sure it is. It's IT resources. It's tax dollars. It's my money. I absolutely think it's pertinent. I mean,
So
why are we videoing things that people aren't even viewing?
Chairman, that's a ridiculous question. I'm not going to answer it. We're talking about, and I think you're one that also talks about transparency and meetings transparent, and that's what we're doing. So I'm not going to engage that part of it.
Is the public
Obviously, we
welcome
can
to
make
come?
accommodations. If you change it, it's going to cause a strain. If it's multiple members of the board who wants to move it after all this time because there's a problem, then we will make the accommodation. But under the circumstances we have now, we are against it.
any other comments? Can we take it to a vote?
Whenever
And
you're
I
ready,
would
Chairman.
say the simple answer is 9 a.m. or 2 p.m. So that, you don't have to expand on the vote, just say what you'd like. So whatever order you want to take the vote in.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Howard,
2 p.m.
Ms. Engel,
2 p.m.
Mr. Bergman,
2 p.m.
Ms. Hall,
2 p.m.
Chair.
Well, 2 p.m. Okay, good. So that's done, as is, no amendment needed. Next item will be fiscal year update. Coming from Ron.
Good evening. Good evening. Okay.
Better
All
not
right,
keep us till
Good
evening.
afternoon, Budget Advisory Committee.
We're gonna walk out.
And I'm just sort of wondering if I had dental work this morning, so I think my lip is finally coming back up here.
It's like Dudley Moore.
I was drooling earlier, but they numbed all my mouth. But I thought, something to first on the budget, just to go over it, and mainly just go from the point of view of the budget you all saw to where we are right now today. So I
That's
just
fine, so we're gonna go budget first, then,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know the agenda, I think, has financial update, but in my PowerPoint, I've got them both in here, but I start with the budget.
it's your show.
If it's confusing to you, I can quick go.
I can adapt, I'm flexible.
So far, as you probably know, you went through your meetings with the Budget Advisory Committee, and then they had 3 budget workshops. The last one was on August 18th. The first public hearing to approve the tentative millage rate and the budget was on September 6th, 2022. There wasn't many questions there. They kept the millage rate the same at the 5.37. There was no changes to the budget at that meeting. And then, as required by state statutes, we required to advertise we put in the budget amount, and then there's a tax increase. There's required ads, by state statutes and the requirements of it. And that's going to be in Sunday's, the 18th paper. And then the second and final public hearing will be on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. I still laughed at it. They're still required to be in a newspaper, but I don't know how many people get the newspaper, but we put it in the Tampa Bay Times, but maybe they go online and read it also, but.
It sounds like from the little article in this newspaper that everybody was fairly in agreement. A couple commissioners, I'd say waffled a little bit, and it's almost like motherhood, saying during these difficult times, if we should be able to think about helping people out.
Right.
But
And I
from
think
pure
about, they
business-
talked about a little bit, but really if it's just $5 or $10 and that a taxpayer is saving, but you might as well just keep it the way it is and provide those services for the residents. So. Just thought I'd talk about the revenue assumptions. They did not change much except for the property taxes. And as you know, they went from, we had, back in your budget, we had 5%. We estimated a taxable value increase. It ended up being 14.02. Water and sewer fees per the ordinances, there's no increase next year starting October 1. Sanitation fees, no increase on October 1st. But since the new contract started March 30th, 2022, annually, there will be an increase every March 31st. So the first one will be March 31st, 2023. It's based on the CPI, but they put in the contract it can't be over 3% for the,
With a cap, okay.
with a cap of 3%. Stormwater fees we're still doing the 50 cents per equivalent stormwater unit. That's the annual rate increase each year. That 50 cents, it's been 50 cents a year. They did 10 years. The last year is fiscal year 2025.
And
Just a
that's
look,
been something that's been voted on by the board.
the stormwater?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was voted on back in it started fiscal year 2016. It was 50 cent increases every year since then. It goes through 2025.
Understand.
Just going back over, I think that's what I just said. In your budget you got on May 9th, we estimated 5% taxable values. And lo and behold, it came in at 14.02% increase on the taxable values. The millage rate is still at 5.37, no change there. That difference between the 14.02 and the 5% was an additional revenue increase of $972,000. $921,251 went to the general fund, and $50,964 went to the CRA fund. I'm just trying to show here, in the black is the way it originally was when you saw the budget. In red, I put in what changed since your budget that you saw. The pay increase for police and fire union was per their contract. Well, they did an additional 3% for the union, for the police and fire union employees. The pay increase, we originally funded 3%, but we increased to 2% for a total of 5% funding for the general employees.
Do those additions take place within the 23 budget, in other words, after the deadline, the new year,
Yes, they will start on,
October 1st?
well, September 29th, a Thursday, is the first day of our pay week.
Okay.
They all start then. And then they came back to the police and fire command positions. They're non-union positions. They're mostly the, not the two chiefs, but they're the two police majors. There's district captains. There's the deputy fire chief. So they're getting another 3% on top of the 5% they would have gotten that was funded. Back when you looked at the budget, there was no new positions, but now there's 9 new positions approved by the board. 6 in the general fund, 2 water sewer, and 1 is crossing multiple funds. It's a grant writer position that cross. I think we've got it budgeted in the general fund, water and sewer, and I think stormwater fund, because that's more where a lot of the capital projects are. Health insurance increase, we had estimated 10% increase. It came in at 5%. Now, the property liability insurance and the workers' comp, we still have budgeted a 10% increase. We've gone out for bid for that. We're hoping to get that back soon to see where that comes back in. Hopefully, it might come down a little bit from that 10%. These were the new positions, the 9 new positions. We had 2 new police officers. In police, a digital evidence technician. In parks, 2 technician workers. In roads and streets, a technician. And then in water and sewer, we got a utility operations specialist and a water sewer worker. And then the grants project specialist, which is in multiple funds.
Ron, is it possible the 2 officers may get funded by the county, or is that, am I thinking something different?
Not the county, but they were hoping to get, you might be thinking of fire, where we tried to get some
Yes.
fire funds funded through the county, but they were hoping to get something called a SAFER grant, but I don't know if that's come through yet, if they know. It's where the federal government will,
Right, okay.
you might give you 3 positions, they'll pay 75% a year, and then you appropriate after that. Hopefully you can read this, but I was just trying to summarize in a nutshell here, you know, the funds, the largest funds, and then some other funds down below the first column there. The budget you saw back on May 9th totaled $73 million, and then those funds down, the fund amounts down below that. And then the proposed budget right now is $75,686,303, so it's been an increase in the green number there under change of $2,648,932. And if you go down below from that column there, you'll see the general fund increase of a little over $1 million, $1,066,000, mostly due to the new positions, the additional pay increases, and the regrades that were done. Water and sewer fund, the $200,000 was new positions and regrades. Sanitation fund, there was some capital requests we put back in. There was a Kubota they asked for and some more work on the yard waste facility, the new scale and stuff. So we put that capital back in. The penny fund, we still hadn't really finalized the penny fund yet. We really, at that time, we still had 2.1 million available, so it increased some more. Plus, I look back, when we did the budget back on May 9th, I only had the revenues for the penny fund at like 3.1 million, but it was been doing so much better. I said, I've got to up this. So it was a little over 400,000. I increased the revenues on the penny fund to, I think, close to 3.4, 3.5 million now for next year. Sales taxes have been doing good. I just put the other funds down below because the library impact fund, we budgeted 400,000 this current year for some library improvements. Well, they're not getting done, so I'm rebudgeting it. So I put it back in the budget. That's why down below there's that additional 355,000. That's what they needed for those. Try to do some more of those library improvements inside the building.
They had some big projects, right?
Yeah, inside the building and a new multimedia room, I think, inside there. And CRA fund increased 100,000, mostly due to because of the property tax values going up from the 5% we estimated to the 14. Theirs was 14.62. It went up. So that's money that we increased the budget for the CRA, and mostly that money is still available. You'll see later on another slide where I've got the budget, and there's still, I think, 300,000. It's still available for projects that the board wants to spend on. Vehicle maintenance fund, that was mostly due to fuel price costs going up. When I originally did the budget back in In May, I think I was budgeting maybe $4 a gallon for stuff, but then prices went up and we started to worry about it. I think I went up close to $5.50 and $6 for ethanol and diesel. But now with the prices, I'm going, but I'm comfortable with, I don't know what price they're going to do with this economy and, what's going to go on. Is there a recession or not? But so I'm just leaving it alone for right now. This is the penny fund. What I've tried to do here is just show you what's highlighted as what changed from, and this was stuff that the board was going back and forth on between the penny fund and spending ARPA money. This is a 5-year penny from 2023 to 2027. Like I said, the stuff in yellow is what is new from when you saw the budget. We've got the Fire Station 70 replacement. We're funding it over 3 years, $1 million in 2023, $1.3 million in 2024, and $1.5 million in 2025.
So what's to take place in '23? Design?
Yeah, and I've got another, I think the next slide, I've got a little bit more breakout of that, but we've got the design, the board approved using $1 million of, this is an estimate for design. I know it sounds a lot, but they're saying design work is sometimes, I think they use 18% of the cost of a project. To me, it's a lot of money for it, but it's $1 million for design. The board approved to use ARPA money for the design work. That's not in here. This money here is just for construction. Fire rescue transport vehicle. The county is now approving the city to have a transport vehicle. The county is going to pay $250,000. We've budgeted $300,000 because there's some equipment that's got to go onto a stretcher and some other stuff that the county's not providing.
Ron, pretend I don't know what a transport vehicle is. Give me a couple more words.
It's like Sunstar. You see the
Okay.
Sunstar vehicles that go around, but this one will probably be a nice red one and stuff.
Got it.
Years and years and years ago, we used to have one, and it wasn't used anymore, and I saw it back in the fleet department, but it was very old. But I think what the county is finding out, especially with COVID, there wasn't enough transport vehicles to take all these people and stuff. So they're thinking they need to get more transport vehicles out there. So they're going to pay for it, $250,000 worth. River and Bayou dredging, that was something that came up when we were talking about ARPA also, but that's in 2024, the $1.1 million. They want to go out and try to, I guess, maybe that's got a little silt in or whatever they call it in the bayou and stuff, and they want to try to dredge that stuff out and make it a little deeper. Lemon Shattuck, that was some more money they need, with the cost going up. We already had like, I think, $400,000 budget. They just said they needed another $650,000. Same with Orange Street. I think we had $400,000 budget for that. So they said they needed another $450,000 for construction of Orange Street. And then down below were some items that came up during the budget process. They decided to put in and approve the Craig Park band shell, $35,000. Riverside tennis court replacements, $140,000. Theater upgrades downstairs. No, I'm sorry. I think it's a theater over in the old City Hall, $100,000. And then there's some Heritage Museum with a Christopher Still project, $90,000. So those things in yellow, those were all new things. I just show them to you. And where the penny fund is now, with the fund balance at the bottom down there. This was some of your questions there. This is a fire station 70 replacement. The design cost $1 million they approved out of ARPA. They've estimated so far, I love these estimates because they're usually coming back higher these days, but $5.5 million to build for construction. You just saw the penny fund where we had the 1.5 million, 1.3, and 1.5 million over the 3 years. The county will reimburse us 10% because we cover part of the outside the city portion there, and it's been a 9.6, between 9.6 and 10%. We've had some cell tower money in reserve for a couple years now since they did that perpetual exclusive easement. We used to get rental money monthly for it, but then they paid us $720,000. We've got that money reserved off, and it's just sat there in the general fund. And then for the rest, we decided we would use maybe fire impact money to pay the balance of it for the total $5.5 million. Down below the EMS transport vehicle, as we said, we've got the cost of the vehicle plus equipment, 300,000, and the county is reimbursing 250,000. Scott Young, the fire chief, came by yesterday, and I guess since a lot of these vehicles are coming in more than the 250,000, they might give us some more money. He said the county's going to revisit that in the next year and see that, because there's other, I think Palm Harbor's getting one, Dunedin's get one, and so they might chip in some more money to help with the cost of those transport vehicles. I mean, as though these are, you just can't get one of these vehicles right away. It's like 2 years to get these things now, just like the fire trucks. It used to be like a year, but we're getting a fire truck soon. The one we bought not quite 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, we're finally going to get it in a couple weeks.
Didn't we, on a fire truck, like I'm gonna say, not pre-buy it because of the lead time in getting it?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got one that's coming finally in a couple weeks, but we got another one that they're building too.
That's the one.
Just a little about the CRA. You've probably heard this stuff before. It was established in 2001, expires 30 years after that, so probably around 2031. The area of it from Mears to the Sponge Docks, the base year 2000. At that time, the taxable value in 2000 was $41,037,900. Any taxable values over that amount go specifically into the CRA times that millage rate. So that's what's called tax increment financing. And both the city pays in our portion and the county also cuts us a check and sends us for their portion. More of the same, I think the original budget, we did the 5%, then it came in at 14.61% for the CRA taxable value increase. Millage rate's the same as the city's 5.37. So with the additional 14.61 over the 5%, it's an additional $100,000 to the CRA, $50,964 from the city, and $49,000 from the county. I say that's a taxable value increase of 9.61% over the 5%. These are the expenditures currently in the CRA personnel. We've got a couple positions, 123,000, operating 86,000. The building grant program, 100,000. The loan repayment from the Sanitation Fund, this would be the second year. 2024 would be the third year.
This is a loan from the Sanitation Fund to the CRA?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was for the purchase of the property down there by the Bayou. Now, I don't know if you have any questions on the budget. I'll go on to the financials as they currently are.
Yeah, let me ask this question. I've probably asked it 3 times before, but it's within the general fund, the reserve, the 8.8 million. I know there's a 20%.
Minimum.
Is that 20%, does that come from a board approval or is that a legal requirement?
The 20%.
And I know we're well over the 20%.
Yeah, we're like at a 31, 32%.
Right.
That is a fund balance policy of the city.
Of the city.
Yeah, it says 20%. Also in that fund balance policy is the water and sewer fund, the sanitation fund, and the stormwater fund have a 25% fund balance minimum.
And that's 25% of the next year's expenses?
Correct. It's expenditures plus any transfers out, if there's many expenses.
Understand.
Yeah.
And I'm phrasing the question. Do you sense that the commission takes that, let's face it, we had a lot of money this year, that the 20% is a targeted level within the commission, in other words, or what do you?
I haven't heard anything specifically if they've got a target level. I know that, working on it for this current year and next year, I'm still seeing it hover right around 8.8 million. I don't see us varying that far from it.
Okay.
Now I go into this current year, and what I try to do is, August, we hadn't closed it out until just yesterday, but I had numbers for the day before when I was working on this presentation. So I got most everything was in. It just weren't the final numbers. But there was just some little things. I know this might be a lot of numbers on here, but this is the general fund. And as highlighted top, we're 92% through the year. On the top part, there's revenues. I've got the budgets. What I'm just trying to show you is the budget to the actuals. And then basically on the far right where it says 94.37%, well, we're 92% through the year. So we're over that, but mostly due to the property taxes. We received all that money by June, but I think we're still looking good on our revenues to budget this year for the general fund. Down below the expenditures, we've got a total expenditures of $25,917,000. We're at 87%. Well, that's good. We're below the 92%. Some of it, when I went back to look, most of it's due to we've got some vacant positions in some departments in the general fund, about 10 positions. And some of it's due to capital. We've got some capital that hasn't been spent yet that's been budgeted. One larger one was there's some more mausoleum work that they were going to do, repair that mausoleum out there, about $250,000. That's budgeted, but it hasn't been spent. I think the tree banks has a tree bank survey they were going to do, about $140,000. That hasn't been spent. So there's some capital items that haven't been spent that's keeping us under that 92%.
On the capital projects, at the end of the year, what happens with that money? Again, I come from the corporate philosophy and that, that if you don't spend it, you lose it. But is there any automatic carryover or by resolution? What happens?
Well, if it happens to be encumbered with a purchase order, it'll come over on the first budget resolution of the new year.
Yes.
If it isn't, then they have to either they tell me or I reach out to them to say, okay, with this project, do you need me to rebudget it? And
Not automatically carried over, it has to be knowingly approved. Okay.
For getting more of the general fund, like I say, majority of revenues are coming in on budget. And the property tax, the taxable value increase this year was 7.19%, which brought it in about an extra $717,000 this year. By the end of June, we had all the property tax money at $10,977,455. I think all major revenues are coming in over budget now. A couple months ago, I was reporting there was a couple that were under budget, I think permit fees and something else. Just to notate, we made the payment to the hospital. They completed the ER, and part of the agreement when they redid the lease was we would refund them some money. We accumulated it yearly. Their lease had 2% increases every year. So we're billing close to about $370,000 for 1 year for leasing the hospital. But the portion that was over $300,000, that was a new lease agreement, we saved off each year for the last 2-3 years. So we had a reserve for this money. So when they completed the ER, we dug into that reserve and we paid them the $314,000 we were saving off. So once they completed the ER room and it got certified for occupancy. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yes, no, I did follow it at the end.
Yeah.
I kept wondering what's a year.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
But, so everybody's happy right now, hospital's happy, you're fine, they've completed the business, and money is out the door.
I'd rather kept the money, but
Yeah.
it's when I called him, I think the financial officer, you don't want this money, do you? We can just keep it. We'll do something else right around your hospital. But now they wanted the money. I tried. More numbers. I love numbers. This is general fund revenues, just trying to show more actuals. On the top part up there, it's comparing actuals for 2021 to 22. We're 727,000 over where we were in 2021. And over the far right, there's that 94.37%, again, over where we are as far as revenues to date. Down below, I looked at what I call the top 10 revenues, which are, 74% of the general fund budget. Starting with the biggest one, property taxes. I just highlighted there, it's the $711,000 more we're receiving than last year. All of them are coming in where they should be. half-cent sales tax, 221,000 more than last year, and then revenue sharing, 244,000. When we're working on the budget last year at this time with COVID, I budgeted conservatively, and so now we're finding out that along with the penny sales tax, they've come in nicely over what we budgeted last year and stuff. So all of them are coming in good. You know, if you look on the very far right column, it shows you like property tax, we're at 100%. Utility tax, electric, and franchise fee, 84%. That is because we're 1 month behind in getting those receipts. So this is the end of August, our 11th month. We've only had 10 months of receipts. Otherwise, it would probably be up more like 92, 93%. Same with communication
What do you
service.
do at the end of the year?
We accrue it.
Accrue it.
We get the payments.
That was the right answer.
Factual. That's what we in October we get those receipts and we accrue them back to the previous year. So they're all. I have nothing to complain about. Not that I want to complain, but so we're doing good. You know, with the revenues. These are just some other some other ones that fluctuate and stuff. Revenues again. School resource officer. It's just more of a timing thing. I think in 2021. We had 10 payments this year. We've only got 9 payments so far, but it'll be on par to what, it's a contract, so we'll get the full amount. Just wanted to show, like last year, we got COVID CARES money of $424,000. You know, that's, if we didn't have that last year, probably we have 700,000 more revenues this year. You know, you'd see 1.1 million if we didn't have that variance. And then the hospital lease, we booked the refund, so that's why we only have 31,000 of receipts in 2022. That's why that's gone down. Performing art ticket sales has come in nicely. You know, we're up at 195,000 this year, so that's coming in nicely. And as you can see on the far right column, we're at 130% over what, you know, we're over what we budgeted. Recreation fees really hasn't come back yet. We're only like 12,000 over last year, but hopefully that'll pick back up. Code enforcement fines, you know, we had some bigger cases last year. We're 109,000 below last year, but we are on budget. We're almost up to 100%. But I know that Tuesday night they approved 50,000 of a code enforcement fine we'll be getting, so that'll help boost that back up. Yeah.
I have an ignorant historical question. So, because you've been here a long time, first of all, we see this millage rate go 9%, okay? Have we ever seen it go the other direction?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so then what happens? Where do you cut? Because you set the baseline for the salaries. So do you like, is there a general rule? Is there some kind of model that you use? Where do you say to the departments, everybody has to cut 15%?
Well, I'm sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, you're fine.
No, back when they call it the Great Recession back then in 2008, you know, that's when my first time ever, I've been here, I guess, 36 years now. That was the first time we ever saw the property tax values go down from 2008. I think 2013 was the low point. Mm-hmm. Constant decreases every year. You know, luckily we had unassigned fund balance. We used those reserves to help balance the budget. And I know what the city manager did is, you know, when this all started, they didn't get rid of any positions, but we put a freeze on. We said no new positions. Any positions, it would go before. I think they had a small board of people to say, just try to decide, okay, is this position necessary or not? So they did that. I know they looked at the health insurance plan. I think they might have come down a plan, just try to look at everything to try to cut the costs and stuff. You know, and the city manager said, you know, departments, no little extras or something. We're just trying to get by here and stuff.
And we're capital projects.
Well, you know, especially in the general fund, you know, trying to balance a general fund, we cut all, yes.
Yes.
We're always cutting you know, that's the one that usually comes out first, you know, when some of the departments have $2 million worth of capital in there, and okay, we can't budget the general fund with $2 million worth, so yeah, that's like the first to come out. And general fund on the expenditures, you know, a lot of departments, they're all coming in, you know, at or below budget. I like we started a couple of years paying the police and fire pension contribution at one time at the beginning of the year. We used to pay it weekly during the year. So a couple of years ago, I heard about this program and he said, well, Ron, if you pay it here at the beginning of the year, you're going to save some money because they're earning interest off that money. So it saves us about $75,000 a year doing that by paying a lump sum at the beginning of the year, if you got the money and the savings to do it, which we do, and instead of paying it weekly our checks would go weekly to the police and fire pension, so. Savannah,
I'm idly curious, does that amount change based on interest rates? Let's say hypothetically, interest rates are higher next year. Would the value of your 1.5 million get you more than 75,000 in savings?
well, it's going to depend on that depends on the contribution we're required to make to the police and fire pensions.
Right.
That goes to the actuary who's sitting here going through all these assumptions, payroll, turnover, mortality rates. When he comes back and gives us, Ron, this is what you need to contribute this year, we get the actuary report. And most of the time, or maybe if they have providing more benefits, then the cost of the actuary report, what they say we got to contribute goes up those years. And it's not too often it's gone down, but it's mostly gone up. But I'm not sure, but interest rates help. If they're earning more interest on their money at the pensions, yeah, that would help reduce that contribution. I'm not sure if that's answering your question there, Chairman.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. Just thought I'd mention about Savannah Cove. I don't know if you heard about that. We had a loan when they did this thing back in 2004 when they built Savannah Cove, city property.
Am I looking like a blank stare? Where's Savannah Cove?
Behind
it's
the
just my
hospital,
lack
I think it's let's say retirement or over 55 community of condos.
Behind the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they bought it, they didn't pay it all. There was a loan agreement that they would pay $200,000. Well, they didn't have to pay per the agreement. They didn't have to pay the $200,000 for 50 years. It was due in 2054. It was interest free, but in 2054, if we're around, no, but the interest rate after 2054 went to 18%. So this just sat on our books, $200,000 receivable, due in 2054. New companies come in to buy Savannah Cove.
Okay.
And in fact, I don't think the city attorney didn't even know about it. And I said, well, wait a minute, they got a loan out here and stuff. So then we went into negotiations on the, we did the net present value and stuff. And really they had a lower amount than so I got them up to about 107. The city received 107,847.52 off of that. And then the board approved this. I would rather keep it in the general fund, but they said, no, let's put it in the land preservation fund. Okay. So they moved it there. But at least that's off the books now. It's not going to sit there for the next 30.
It proposes a interesting financial question. A 30-year obligation, what do you present value it at?
Yeah.
Whatever you did and got the hundreds.
Well, I went online, found the present value calculation, and on the spreadsheets has that too, and I came up with that.
Okay.
And then the city sold 2 pieces of property on Diston and one on Boyer to Habitat for Humanity, and the board decided, okay, they sold it for $78,355. They directed the money to go to the Land Preservation Fund. The Land Preservation Fund was close to down to $10,000, so this has put, about 180, 190,000 back in there.
So what is that fund used for? To possibly purchase additional land in the future?
It's for recreation conservation purposes.
Okay. Total cost?
This is expenditure numbers here. I'm the top, I'm probably repeating this again, but it's just budget to actuals where we're at the 87% so far this year. We're under the 92%. Down below just showing it, just actuals to actuals, 2022 to 2021, we're 1.1 million more in actual expenditures over last year. Doing the same thing, general fund expenditures, but going by category, personnel, operating capital, 2021, 2022, the increase, the budget, and then where we are actuals to budget in the far right column. Capital is down because in 2021, we had, when they were working on that last piece, that new mausoleum, not mausoleum, cemetery property over there. So that's why the capital is down. I don't know if I have many more on that. And this for the general fund is just showing, okay, how does percentage-wise, where'd all that money go? Well, as usual, you know, a lot of it, the general fund's all personnel, so it's 72, as highlighted there, 72.3% of the general fund is personnel expenses, 25% operating, 1.2 capital, and that's the bulk of it there.
So, Ron, just barring any unusual occurrence the last couple, September, October, feel pretty comfortable not asking for an amount, but we'll be underspent versus current budget this year.
I think we're going to be underspent or right on the amount we've budgeted. And I'm still thinking the unassigned fund balance is still going to probably remain right. I'm hovering, I do some projections. I'm hovering still right around 8.8 million, just hoping nothing out of the ordinary comes in here that they say I've got a charge back there, but.
Okay.
Other governmental funds, separate funds, I just thought I'd go impact fees. We increased it per the CPI every October, but there's a new state statute that prohibited it. Unless to increase impact fees, you have to have a study done and prove you're supposed to increase them per the study. But, we did have a study done just a couple years ago. In fact, they went down, so. The impact fee revenues, just thought I'd go through. I put the numbers in green, the ones that went up over budget. But police impact, we budgeted $44,895. I'm projecting we'll come in a little bit over that at $45,000. Fire impact, we budgeted $41,000. So far, maybe we might reach that. It just depends. It only takes one project to come in to bump these up more. Library impact, we budgeted $42,000. We're at $25,000. Recreation impact, $66,000. We're over that at $88,000 projected. General government, $15,000. I'm projecting $9,000. Transportation impact, we budgeted $61,000. I'm projecting we'll maybe end up with $108,000. And water impact, budget at $159,000. Projecting we'll get about $262,000. And sewer impact, $142,000. I'm projecting we'll get about $180,000. Some more governmental funds, just a minute. You know, gas tax still hasn't gotten back up to where it is, but it's slowly creeping back up there. Projecting to come in at $323,000, but a little bit under the budget of $327,000. The CRA, this is the property tax money. The city portion is $320,000 we've gotten in, and the county is $311,000. Public Art Fund has had donations and contributions of $52,795. The Land Preservation Fund, as I mentioned on the other slide, they're getting $107,000 from that Savannah Cove loan and $78,000 from the sale of those properties to Habitat for Humanity. Penny tax, I'm projecting it's going to come in just a little under 3.5 million, and I budgeted 2.7 million, so a nice increase there. Thought I'd go into the American Rescue Plan a little bit here. We received two payments. The first one back a year ago was, a year ago today. It says the 15th. We received our first payment of $6.4 million for ARPA money. We got our second payment just last August 16th, $6.4 million. So we've gotten the full $12.8 million. We're required to report to the Treasury Department every year, every quarterly. We've reported through June 30th. We reported $46,000 of expenditures for quarter ending June 30th. We reported $77,435 of expenses so far. The next report is due September 30th. Well, it's due for September 30th, but it's due by the end of the next month, October 31st. Down below are the projects that have been approved. I highlighted the one in blue because those are the ones, the top 5 were already approved by the previous board. The ones in blue were approved just a couple weeks ago by the current board. The fire station, 70 design, $1 million. Cops and Kids building design, $600,000. Hospital capital funding, I've heard maybe they're using it, I think, for an awning or something like that, but I'm not sure what they're gonna use it for, $1 million. So there's total approved projects in yellow there of the 5,342,000. But still, there's still almost 7.5 million that is out there to be allocated to. They have to figure out what projects they're gonna use that for.
Has the process, with the board, they started out, they had 3 meetings, public meetings. I know, it started out like that. Did they funnel it down fairly well at the end?
Yeah.
Where the money, they seemed to, that was a very difficult project.
Right.
But they seem to be coming closer. and
Yeah, we
closer.
had a list of projects, and some they were still listed on, under the ARPA, but some we were able to move, I think, to the penny fund and somewhere
Right.
else to try to fund some of them. Just more information on the ARPA fund. The projects have to be obligated in the form, board approved and purchase order issued by, a little over 2 years from now, December 31st, 2024. All ARPA funds have to be gone out of the bank, money all spent by December 31st, 2026. Per the ARPA agreement, we can use the interest earnings for any city purpose. It doesn't have to go for any, like a ARPA project or whatever, and part of them. We can use it for whatever we deem necessary. I just thought I'd go into the investments here. Since, as you can tell, we've only spent 77,000 so far, so I've got my own cash flow worksheet. If you say, I've
Don't
estimated.
leave it till the absolute end.
Oh, I didn't put it up here. I don't know if you probably wouldn't be able to see everything. Right now, I've got I call it liquid cash available money of $3 million, earning about 2.2% in the state pool in the money market. I've got investments in treasuries and agencies. I've got $9.7 million in 15 investments laddered over the next 2.3 years with maturities average. I've got for cash flow, I've got them every 2 months. About 11 of them at 500,000, and I've got one at 200,000, but then I got 4 at 1 million each. The 1 million each are like every 6 months. So I've got 500,000 every 2 months. And then on the off month, I've got $1 million every 6 months for the next 2 years. But I still got 3 million sitting in there. They've got some of these projects, but like the big ones, public safety building roof, 1.2 million, it hasn't started yet. I think they're going out for bid on that, and the Bay Shore septic to sewer, that's still going out for bid. So, and the hospital, I'm not sure when they're going to be asking for that money. So I've got the 3 million that's available, but like I say, I do have investments maturing every 2 months. The first one, I got 500,000 maturing in October. If I see where we're not spending, I might just reinvest that, in either another 6 months or a year. Interest
But
rate.
you're feeling better than when you were getting 0.5% last year.
Well, I was going to joke. It's like this time last year, we were getting 0.20. I listen to all these talking heads on TV and the business channels, and I go, they weren't projecting what we're seeing this year, and another maybe 75-point increase in the next couple of weeks. But interest returns on the ones I've got there are between 0.74%. Some I got earlier on when they started to increase, and I got one yesterday, a treasury bill, because the treasury bills went up the last couple of days, and I called the broker and I said, what can I get a 1-year treasury bill for? So I got a 1-year treasury bill at $1 million at 3.93%.
It's the inverted yield curve.
Yeah, the barbell thing.
Your money is getting more than what the 10-year money.
And I'm estimating, that depends on how quick they spend this money. I might get 460, 500,000 interest earnings over the next, 2-3 years.
Well, you can always tell the hospital when they want their money. You have to wait till this investment matures.
Wait for this one investment to mature.
Be patient.
But I don't want them to ask for the interest earnings, though. That's enough of the, I guess, American Rescue Plan. Getting a little of the water and sewer fund, since it is the second biggest, between the water and sewer and the general fund, there's 70% of all the city funds. 92% through the year. Revenues up top, going to the far right in yellow, we're at 90.41% revenues received. It's not 92%, and the main reason for that is in October of last year, we accrue half of the billings for that year back to the old year, so that's why we're under the 92%. Let's see, down below in the expenses, we're at a nice low number of 56%, but it's mostly because we've got like $15 million worth of capital projects out there right now budgeted. You'll see on another slide here, but I think we've only had $5 million of expenses and $3.1 million of encumbrances, so we're still, I think with the inflation and stuff, and they're trying to gauge which projects to do for the water and sewer, but I think that's mostly why we're at 55.58% because of the capital projects. The main revenues of the water and sewer fund, the water sales, going across from 2021 to 22, we're up 187,000 over last year to actuals. Budget of 9.8 million on water, we're at 91%, which is where about when the accrual comes in and we're post that, I think we'll be above. We're going to go over budget. And down below in some, if you can read it there, I'm projecting water will be probably over budget by 175,000 and sewer by 80,000, and mostly due to we saw about water consumption increase about 2.4% over last year. Even though we're having a rate decrease of 2.2%, I'm seeing that we're still going to have some revenues are going to come in over budget. They're all meeting the expectations of the budget there, all those four. Those are the four main, the water, the sewer sales, effluent, and backflow. Expenditures of the water and sewer fund by category, personnel, operating, capital, comparing the actuals for 2021 to 22. Personnel up 240,000, about where it should be. Operating expenses. I highlighted the capital because we are doing more than last year. So we're at 5.2 million of expenses this year. Over just 34% of the 15 million that we've got budgeted for capital. I don't include encumbrances there, but down below I mentioned that there is 3.1 million of outstanding encumbrances as of August 31st. That's not included in those above numbers.
So encumbrances, there's been a PO committed to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to show by category how the expenses, personnel, operating, and capital, you can see how it's different from the general fund. The general fund had like 73% personnel. Well, personnel here in water and sewer fund is 31% because you got more operating expenses to operate the water plant, the sewer plant. So you've got operating at 26% and then capital of 30%. Some of the other funds, just some information. The new 5-year contract was approved last March, approximate 25% increase in rates. So the contractor expenses and revenues will be increased based on the new contract. Probably just repeating some of the stuff on the water and sewer funds. Revenues coming in slightly over budget. We've seen a consumption increase on water of 2.4% over last year. Just going into the approved rates that they did last year, the 2.2% reduction this current year. And then next year, 2023, there's no increase for water, sewer reclaimed. And there's the year after that, in 2024, there's no increase. And then in 2025 through 2028, it goes back to 2.75% increases. Now, we did have an interim revenue sufficiency study that we've been working on. It looks like the rates are still sufficient for the next couple years. Still just sort of, in looking at it, we had an interim study proposed for next year. We do a contract with our consultant for the studies. It was interim this year and interim next year, but then a full study. We decided to we're going to do the full study next year with inflation and maybe the cost of the CIP project. So we're going to do a full study next year to see where we're at on the water and sewer rates. The Marina Fund, coming in good, projecting 147,000 of revenues. We budget 126,000, and a lot of it's due to we revised the fees a couple years ago. That's also good, now we're covering operating expenses, and this is a small fund, and it's usually, it was in a negative fund position, about $15,000. I'm seeing we're gradually going to whittle that down, and hopefully we're down to $10,000 this year, and we'll gradually eliminate that. The stormwater fund, revenues will come in on budget at the 1.8 million. We're having a revenue sufficiency study done, a full study right now with a consultant, and that's going before the board on September 27th. As I said earlier, the annual rate increases are 50 cents per equivalent stormwater unit each year annually. The preliminary results of the study that the rates are sufficient to cover expenses and CIP through 2023. I say possibly rates could be decreased. When I was looking at it today, I go, not that rates could be decreased, but I think the rate of increase could be decreased. Right now, we're doing like 5%. And I think what they're saying is after the 2025, which is the last year, the 50-cent increases, we could do another about the same 50 cents a year. But then after that, we could go down, instead of 5% increases, 2.5% increases from, I think, 2028 to 2032. But that study's going before the board September 27th. The golf course fund, I don't know what I can say about this one, but I just
Don't say anything.
I know.
Tell
I
them to
just
keep on, keep on.
It's just amazing to me where I just sort of go, do I need to check what they're doing?
I'm thinking that would be a great study for a graduate business program.
I agree.
Exactly.
What's happened with that golf course.
Business.
I'd still like to know why. When they were presenting the budget, I was giving the open door. Why? I was hoping he was gonna say,
I have an idea.
because I'm there.
I have an idea.
Why?
All these remote workers.
That's it. They're not, they're
Because
really
I have
calling in.
I have a few sales managers that sometimes
They're working
on
from the
Friday
golf course.
That's right.
Way more than they ever have. Way more than they ever have.
I have a little, I still struggle with that because I play at some other golf courses around, and they're not nearly as busy as Tarpon, so I don't know what the real draw is there.
Well, and I think they've tried to keep the rates,
It is good
one of
value.
the lower ones. I don't know, maybe Shane probably knows, he golfs more.
Yeah, I mean, I was there middle of July, and like it's 11 o'clock when I got out there, and the parking lot was still packed.
I think they've tried to keep the rates.
It's
Volume.
a friendly golf course. By that, I mean, it's not narrow, it's kind of wide.
Yeah.
And they've kept it up nicely.
They've
and-
maintained it well.
Yeah, and, because we had two bad years, the COVID and the year before that. I think the revenues were just like 1.1 million, 1.2 million, each of those years. So when you say in 2022, all of a sudden we got 1.63 million, we thought, well, that's great. Then all of a sudden we got into this year, and okay, I'm projecting it's going to, I don't know if it's going to hit 2 million. I think Howard out there thinks he's going to hit the 2 million mark, but maybe I'm being a little bit more conservative, so I should have put 1.99 or something. But it's doing great. This is between the marina and the golf course. They're the ones that have been in a negative position because all the capital work that's done in the previous 20 years and stuff, and it just it kept getting more negative and negative. And like at the end of last year, I think we were at a negative $9 million. But I think we're gradually going to get that down to the fund balance to a negative, I hate to even say 500,000.
It may be so good that you want to reinstitute the charge, the 8%.
Oh,
No,
the transfer?
I'm just-
Well, I don't
I'm
want
not serious.
I don't want to do anything until, I
Yeah.
just want to get that negative fund balance eliminated. And if they keep going like this, it might be next year,
That's negative funds, golf course owing for loans or?
It's just that they've had the expenditures over revenues, and the capital account's got a negative fund balance. Right now, in cash-wise too. So, I mean, if I go look right now, I think last year at this time, they had a negative cash position of about 850,000. It's at a negative 350,000 now. So you're seeing like a $400,000 or $500,000 improvement over the cash position from last year to this year, which is.
Don't do anything, don't change anything.
I
your
don't.
fault
I
if
don't want to go out there. I don't want to jinx it. I don't. Okay, that's it. If you got any questions, and
So based on what's been approved already through the Board of Commissioners, like the salary increases and the headcount increases and all of that, and then this budget as it stands now, all of the increase in revenues is absorbed there, or is there still potential? I didn't hear anything that might be left to go into the reserves, like, or has that all been kind of consumed?
most of the, like I say, with the property tax money, it was like about another 900,000, something what we got. Most of that was taken up by the new positions, the regrades, the additional police and fire union 3%. So most of that ate up that money.
So, yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer really is yes.
I,
I just had a little meeting with the mayor, just a friendly hour and a half. It was good to exchange ideas. But clearly there, if we maintain the 8.8, I know we originally recommended way back when to increase the reserves. They do have plans between capital expenditures and with the payroll increases.
But technically, so that's actually a reduction in the percentage of reserves we have available, because our budget is higher, the number is the same, so we're actually,
you mean like the unassigned, where we're at the 31%, we
Yeah.
might.
Right.
If that's why I think I gave you a PowerPoint a few months
You
ago.
did, the very first one.
Where is it, when they base it 20% on expenditures, well, if our expenditures keep going up,
we need more.
that 20%
Right, so I'm
keeps
saying
going
we're
up.
gonna stay at the 8.8, but we've increased the budget, so we're. yeah.
Exactly. I think I had,
Our percent
So
coverage.
not only did we not add to it, we're actually like maybe in a slightly not
I-
awesome, not as awesome
but
position.
my sense that the mindset among the commissioners is a comfort level down at that 20%. Don't take it below, but
like, the 8.8, the 20% is right around 5.2 million. So, but we're 8.8 million, we're gradually getting closer to that. I think on the presentation I gave you, I don't know if it was 5, 6, 7 years, I'm saying, we might be getting close to where that minimum is
Yeah.
hitting that
Yes.
8.8 million.
your projections, it
That's when
went
you
out
mentioned, that's when
like
you
5 or
earlier
7
mentioned about,
years.
should we take that 638,000 and put it in the reserves? I go, okay.
Which is all fine unless we don't maintain the income
Right.
for next several years.
I mean, I guess a lot of people say, well, you got 8.8 million sitting out there, but we do have the minimum. We'd like to keep that out there because we're a Gulf Coast on the water community. I know I've heard when, as a Hurricane Charlie came through Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, it wiped out all their reserves and stuff, and they had to rebuild that. So it's good that we've got, the reserves out there.
Even in this discussion, I'll open it with the mayor, I did say, the Tarpon Springs balance sheet is not highly levered.
In debt.
If there's a project out there to consider, 4, 5, 6 million, you had mentioned a couple meetings ago about bank financing that, where the bank didn't pay income tax on it. Just to keep that in mind, if absolutely needed.
And we're at a
And
low,
I'm not a fan of piling on debt, but if it makes sense.
we've kept the debt, the big, is the bond issue for the water plant. Other than that, we've got the 3 leases for the fire trucks, as they've worked out well, trying to, balance money out of the penny fund over the 5 years. We got low interest rates on them, so those have worked out. I think you might have mentioned it when we were talking about this a few months ago and the debt and stuff, but we are low as a percentage. I went back in and looked at Dunedin and Clearwater. There was, I think, a percentage per, I don't know if it was per number of citizens, and I think they were at maybe 9 and 10, and we were down at 2 or something like that.
It's a strong balance sheet.
Yeah, with a little debt, but.
Okay. Any questions? We've got the expert. I'm feeling that you're real comfortable for the next 2 months in year end. We're going to have a little bit of,
Yeah,
I
you
know.
you got to worry about, recession, no recession, property tax, what's it going to come in when they start to assess the values next January? We're not going to, I don't think, see another 14% increase.
yeah, I'll give you 14, I'll take under.
The sales taxes, the way they've jumped up,
A lot has gone right.
Yeah.
In terms, I know, the budget, the only thing pending is, you have some insurance rates that will be coming in,
The property liability and the workers' comp,
right?
they've got that out for bid and they're waiting for
Any
that to come.
other pending?
Items like that, from the budget process? No, that's the only ones that are still hanging out there.
Anybody, any questions?
Oh, and I know one thing I wanted to mention, when I work on my investment, I forgot to mention, I really just wanted to thank you all, because I don't know if you remember, but I don't know, a year or so ago, it came to you about our investment policy. I could only do,
X percent,
at that time, 25% in CDs, 25% in treasury bills. So you all helped approve and that we increase that percentage, and CDs went to 40% of the portfolio and treasury bills went to 50%.
It was still a pretty conservative change, though, if I remember right.
Yeah, and right now I'm at, it just depends on how the market's doing. I think last year CDs at 0.20% were the best I could get, so I was buying more of those. But now treasury bills I hadn't bought treasury bills in a while, so it's just like, what's a hot
Come
top?
to us and ask about to invest in cryptocurrency.
No,
I don't think.
no, but you update treasury bills to 50%. I'm at 25% now, so if we had the old policy, I would have to stop because I could
Right.
only do up to 25%. So I can still go a little bit more on treasury bills, which are government guaranteed. And
Right. The risk.
so thank you for that.
We said the risk, you're not really taking us on a big risk
Right.
ride.
Right, not on a big risk.
That's
right,
not
a good way.
crypto, or we don't do stocks. And
Right, right, right.
Florida land,
I was going to say, but thank you, I know for approving that.
we try to be reasonable business owners. People try. Any more questions of Ron? Anybody? Last chance at romance? Are there, I guess I should go through any public comments, any other comments? Otherwise, we'll bring the meeting to a conclusion.
Do you know when your next meeting is, or is it?
The October 20th.
October 20th. 10:20 at 2 o'clock.
And as I said earlier, I will not be at that meeting. I will
Right.
be out of the country.
We're gonna zoom you in on the Viking liner. Could you work, at 2 o'clock here is what time and, about 5 hour
About
difference?
6 hour difference.
5 to 6, okay. Nah, it could be a little later tonight, could be your dinner time. You get official excuse, pardon. Anything else? If not, anything else pending, we're good. So let's adjourn the meeting of the Budget Advisory Committee at 3:11 in the afternoon. Thank you all.
Thank you.